Hey everybody, this is Patrick Powers. This video is for Mobile Player Experience Week 4, and this is about the request for proposal. I'm going to quickly go through what my request for proposal was for the Mobile Player Experience Inc. And the name of the application that I have proposed is called Fingerball. It is a soccer application that is cross-platform from iOS to Android, as represented within these two pictures right here. What I'll be going through is the overall basic concept of the game, game controls, how the single player and multiplayer differ from each other, monetization of the game, the timeline of the game, and the budget for the game as well. So what Fingerball is it's a multiplayer game or multiplayer and actually single player game that can be played on iOS as well as Android devices. The single player mode is kind of like a training mode. It is set up in a similar fashion to Angry Birds. As you're going through different levels, you're increasing the difficulty of the levels. So Fingerball, what it does is it actually basically trains the user as to how to play the game better so that they can use those skills in the multiplayer rounds. But at the same time, the single player mode is a level by level increase in difficulty while mastering the skills needed, such as a straight kick, a bounce off the wall, or learning how to use the power shots that are available. And you do earn various things throughout the single player game to potentially purchase identity and things to actually identify yourself and create your own team identity for Fingerball. Through multiplayer, the user gets to play against their friends or random opponents in a similar fashion to Words with Friends. Each player makes an attempt to score. They have one turn each, one kick each, and the ball essentially, or the turn is then reversed to the other player. So it goes back and forth, but there is no set time. It is at the leisure of the individuals who are playing. So it's not a real-time game necessarily, but one that can be played through micro breaks and breaks throughout the day while keeping the social interaction. Within the multiplayer, you can actually use purchased power plays, which I will get into, that users can basically use to enhance their overall user experience within the multiplayer field. These will be available on Google Play as well as the App Store for the Android and iOS devices, and other Android markets as well. So how do you actually control Fingerball? It's very simple. You're essentially swiping a character, or maybe, for example, in this image, a shoe, that would then collide with the ball that would essentially ricochet the ball around the field. The bounds of the field are collidable to where they would actually react and actually push the ball back off. There are players fixed within the field that you have to maneuver your ball around to ultimately get to the goal to score on the opponent. So it's basically a gesture recognized movement to swipe the ball around the field. So single player, as you can see on the right hand side, there's basically levels, and you'll see a few that have trophies and then a few that are locked. Basically, you do have to go through each level before you can get to the next to unlock all the levels. Within each level, you can get 1, 2, or 3 trophies. And what the trophies do is they allow you to actually purchase the ability to customize your team, your identity. And what's cool about that is when you're in multiplayer, you'll be able to actually see a difference between your identity and another's because of your ability to purchase potentially, maybe it's a Brazilian overall theme to your team, but the only way you can do that is if you gain enough trophies throughout the single player mode. So there is no true cost to this, but as I'll get into the multiplayer game, if you have a very plain colored team, that basically means you have not mastered the single player levels throughout the game. And you can see on the bottom there's a couple just examples. The one on the left is basically a straight shot. That would probably be the very first level of the single player mode for a user just to kick the ball straight in, get a feeling for what the game's all about. The one on the middle right, you can see the balls and the shoes kind of angled in a different direction because that particular level you would kick it off the wall and then have to go around the defenders to get it ultimately into the goal. So again, just some different ways of mastering the ability to kick the ball around the field to ultimately get into the goal. Those skills you learn within the single player will help you immensely in the multiplayer. The multiplayer mode does allow you to test your skills against opponents, whether it be random or friends. Again, it is very similar to Words with Friends. If you can see the iPhone that's on the front of the foreground, there's basically a list view that allows you to see if it's your turn, your friend's turn, or if you would like to start a new game, and that will change as the gameplay goes back and forth between the multiplayers. Again, within multiplayer, you'll be able to create your own identity, but also you'll be able to use something called power moves, which again I will continue to get into, and that's how we will be able to monetize this particular game. So monetization. So users will be able to make in-app purchases called power plays, and these power plays actually enhance the multiplayer experience. For example, on the left-hand side, there's a couple examples, all 99 cents, but each one being 99 cents actually gives you a certain number of power plays. You can get 10 power shots. These will allow you to kick the ball directly through one of the defenders. So normally it would ricochet or bounce off of a defender. If you play this power play on one particular move, you can kick directly through that player. So it's as if it didn't even exist. 5 double kicks. This means you can play twice within one turn. It gives you that advantage of not having to wait to the next turn to be able to try to get closer to the goal, or potentially you're so close to the goal you're about to kick it in, you're going to play one of these and you get 5 for $1. 5 mud balls. If you play this during your opponent's turn, they won't realize it, but they're going to hit the ball and it goes to nearly a dead stop within just a few short inches of where the ball started. It's as if the ball hit a mud puddle and just stopped completely. This really helps you because the ball will no longer move that far and you can plan ahead as to what the next turn is going to be like for you. 3 penalty kicks. Penalty kicks basically allow you to wipe out all players on the field for one particular kick except for the goalie. So no matter where the ball is on the field, you actually use a penalty kick, all the defenders will disappear except for their goalie, and you get to try to shoot on the goalie from wherever that ball is on the field for that play. That's a pretty impressive power play, so that definitely costs more money. Same thing with the red cards. You play a red card, and you get to remove one of their defenders for the entire game. Again, it is definitely something that can be utilized to a even extreme extent, so that is a little bit more expensive. Then we have 5 mini balls. What this does is on your particular turn, the ball will shrink down to a smaller size, allowing you to navigate through the actual field a little bit easier without having such a large ball to be having bounced around or potentially hit defenders as you kick it. So these power plays are what gives a user that extra edge, that extra ability to take advantage of the multiplayer game and potentially be better than their opponent because of them. The timeline for this overall project fits right in line with what mobile player experience is looking for. We do have that prototype put together within 15 days of the request for proposal acceptance. Within 40 days, we will have that final rendered game. And then thereafter, it's all about actually marketing and then getting a 75% rating status of the game and making sure that the marketing and the overall player experience within the game, all the bugs are kind of removed so that we can ultimately get to that 75% rating status. What is the budget? The budget is Really upfront, 2,500 for the prototype, leaning right into the design. Now, mobile player experience will be actually providing some of the design side of things and characters and play, but it really does have to get incorporated into the overall game. So there is absolutely some user interface and design and graphics that will go along, and it is quite a few different screens. So we want to make sure this is the best user experience possible. Design plays a key role. So there is some additional cost for design after the prototype. Even that's an additional 6,000. The development is the key part of this game. Um, there are multi-livers. There's a multiplayer. There's a single player. The two types are actually very different when you think about how it actually works. So the development will be a large chunk of the overall project of 15,000, and that is what is going to make this game come together. Lastly, $4,000 for ultimately marketing this out once we have the final product out there, making sure, again, we get to that 75% level of satisfied users. Kind of to end, who am I? Patrick Powers, Design and Development. I've been developing mobile applications for roughly 2 years. Patrick Powers Design and Development is run and operated by myself. The scope of the project is larger than any of the current apps that I have listed in the App Store and or Google Play. However, I do have lots of contacts within the field that I would be calling on to employ for this particular project. All of my applications in the App Store and Google Play are currently rated with 5 stars, and they each do have multiple reviews that go along with those 5-star ratings. So I do firmly believe that we'll be able to get it out there, make it a good experience, and actually get some good reviews on those on that application. So I'm very confident in my abilities and the abilities of my fellow designers and developers to make sure that this project becomes a reality. And I would feel that this is a great opportunity for mobile player experience to get their startup going and have great exposure with a game such as this. So I definitely look forward to hearing back about the mobile player experience request for a proposal. Finally, to end the overall video, in terms of this class, I actually really enjoyed it. I wasn't sure exactly what to expect, and it was really a lot about the theory side of things and the heuristics side of things. I don't think I found this to be overly complicated or overly hard when in comparison to some other courses, especially the coding side of things. But it does give you a very good foundation of what goes into having a great game. You really have to piece apart the games that you are evaluating to the nth degree, but that ultimate evaluation and really getting nitty and gritty is what helps you to understand what really makes a good mobile application game. So when it came down to it, I really like this request for a proposal too. Interestingly enough, I was looking at jobs out there and I saw the RFP and I was wondering what that was all about. And then I came into this actual course right at that exact same time. So it's interesting to be able to jump right into something that I saw a job opportunity available for. So overall, great. I really enjoyed this last part of the project. I thought it was a lot of fun building up some of these mock-ups and the overall request for proposal. And that is it. Thank you so much.